You probably already recognize it. Two simple tools crossing each other, a square and a compass. It is one of the most famous symbols in the world. It appears on rings, temples, books, and sometimes in places where you really would not expect it. Most people associate it with Freemasonry, but very few truly understand what it represents. What many people do not realize is that this symbol is not merely organizational or decorative. Behind the square and the compass lies an ancient philosophical vision about the nature of reality, the structure of the universe, and humanity's place within it. For centuries, initiates, philosophers, architects, and mystics have looked at this symbol not just as a mark of brotherhood, but as a condensed map of creation itself. And according to many traditions, the idea behind it is simple but profound. The universe may not be chaos at all. It may actually be architecture. In Freemasonry, the square and the compass are traditionally associated with the concept of the great architect of the universe. This title does not describe a specific religious deity. Instead, it refers to a universal intelligence. It is a principle of order that designs, structures, and harmonizes existence itself. But this idea did not begin with Freemasonry. Long before medieval stonemasons formed their guilds in Europe, ancient civilizations already believed that geometry revealed the hidden blueprint of reality. In ancient Greece, the followers of Pythagoras taught that numbers and proportions were the foundation of the cosmos. To them, geometry was not just mathematics, it was sacred knowledge. Plato echoed this exact idea in his dialogue Timaeus, where he described the universe as a living structure shaped by geometric harmony. The cosmos, according to Plato, was crafted by a divine intelligence using mathematical proportions. In other words, creation itself was an act of design. This belief resonated across many different traditions. Egyptian temple builders used precise geometric alignments in their sacred architecture. Greek temples were constructed according to proportional systems that reflected cosmic harmony. Much later, Renaissance thinkers like Johannes Kepler and the Hermetic philosopher Robert Fludd also explored the idea that the universe followed geometric patterns embedded within nature itself. When medieval stonemasons built cathedrals across Europe, they were not simply erecting buildings. Many believed they were reproducing divine order in stone. Every arch, column, and proportion reflected a deeper harmony that was believed to exist in the universe. It was within this specific tradition that the square and the compass became such powerful symbols. The square represents the physical world. It is the realm of structure, form, and matter. In practical terms, a mason uses the square to ensure that stones meet at perfect right angles. Symbolically, however, the square represents moral alignment. It reminds the initiate to act with integrity, fairness, and balance. Freemasons often say that a person should square their actions. This means aligning your behavior with principles of justice and truth. The square becomes a symbol of ethical construction, which is the building of character. But the square alone is incomplete. The compass represents something very different. While the square governs the earthly plane, the compass points toward the spiritual dimension. A compass draws circles, and throughout history, the circle has symbolized eternity, unity, and infinity. In Hermetic philosophy, the circle represents the boundless nature of the divine. It has no beginning and no end. Eliphas Levi, the famous 19th century occultist, described the compass as a symbol of the human spirit expanding toward higher understanding. Albert Pike, one of the most influential Masonic philosophers, wrote that the compass teaches us to restrain our passions and keep our desires within proper limits. In other words, while the square organizes our actions in the material world, the compass reminds us to master our inner life. And when these two tools intersect, something truly remarkable happens. The square and compass together represent the meeting point of spirit and matter, heaven and earth, the infinite and the finite. Many initiatory traditions describe the human being as standing precisely between these two worlds. We are physical creatures, shaped by the laws of nature. But we are also conscious, beings capable of reflection, wisdom, and transcendence. The symbol quietly suggests that the true work of life is learning to harmonize both of them. At the center of many Masonic versions of the symbol, there is also the mysterious letter G. Its meaning has been debated for centuries. Some say it represents God. Others say it stands for geometry. This is the sacred science believed to reveal the structure of creation. Still others interpret it as Gnosis, which is the inner knowledge gained through direct insight. Manly P. Hall, one of the most famous scholars of esoteric traditions, suggested that geometry itself was once considered a sacred language. It was a way of understanding the mind of the universe. When you look at patterns in nature, like the spirals of galaxies, the structure of crystals, or the symmetry of flowers, it becomes very difficult not to notice the presence of mathematical order. And perhaps this is exactly why the symbol continues to fascinate people today. Let me ask you something. Do you think the universe follows a hidden order, or do you believe everything is completely random? I am genuinely curious about your perspective, so please write your thoughts down in the comments. For many initiates, the square and the compass are not merely theoretical ideas. They actually become tools for inner development. In Freemasonry, members are often encouraged to meditate on the symbolic meaning of the tools used by ancient builders. The square reminds them to examine their actions and decisions. The compass reminds them to observe their thoughts, desires, and emotions. The real temple they are building is not made of stone. The temple is themselves. And in my opinion, this is where the symbol becomes truly powerful. It does not force a belief on anyone. Instead, it invites deep reflection. When I first understood this idea, it felt less like learning a secret and more like discovering a mirror. Because the square and the compass are not only about architecture. They are about self-construction. Across other esoteric traditions, similar ideas appear again and again. Hermetic philosophy teaches the principle as above, so below. This suggests that the patterns of the universe are reflected within the human soul. Rosicrucian teachings describe the human being as a microcosm, a small universe reflecting the greater cosmos. Even ancient pagan traditions believed that temples mirrored the structure of the heavens. This recurring idea is often called the perennial philosophy. It is the notion that many spiritual traditions are pointing toward the same fundamental truths, expressed through different symbols. And the square and compass may be one of the clearest examples of this symbolic language. Because in the very end, the symbol is not really about Freemasonry alone. It is about the relationship between consciousness and creation. Remember the idea we mentioned at the beginning, the idea that the universe might actually be architecture. If that idea is true, then every human being is not just a passive observer inside this cosmic structure. We are active participants in it. We are apprentices learning to shape our own inner world with the exact same principles of harmony and balance. The square teaches us to build our lives with integrity. The compass teaches us to expand our awareness beyond the limits of the material world. And somewhere between those two tools, a deeper understanding begins to emerge. So now I am curious about something else. Before watching this video, what did you think the square and compass symbol meant? Was it just a mysterious emblem, or did you suspect it carried a deeper philosophy? Tell me in the comments, because sometimes the most interesting insights come from the very questions we ask together. And maybe the next time you see that symbol, those two simple tools crossing each other, you will realize that it may not be a secret sign at all. It might be something far more universal, a beautiful reminder that the universe itself could be a work of sacred geometry, designed by the great architect of existence.